Hello and welcome to the Turnbuckle Sessions. I am your host, Thomas Montato, the OG Fig Kid, and joining me today for our second edition of the History Homage, Mike Belcaster. What's going on, Mike?
Nothing much, man. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to jump into what I chose for you to watch and what you chose for me to watch. And
Very excited.
I'm excited that I gave you something that you had never seen before, because
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to do that with you.
Now I'm all over the place usually, but that was definitely one I have not seen. It was good.
Yeah, I mean it's what I grew up on, and I absolutely loved it. So let's talk a little bit. What I
Yeah.
first told Mike to watch this month was the Piper's Pit at Madison Square Garden with Bobby the Brain Heenan and Harley Race
Yeah. Mr.
and Paul
Wonderful.
Orndorff. And it turned out they challenged Piper to a tag team match, and Piper let a fan jump out of the audience and pick his partner, and the fan was the famous Vladimir, who we've always seen in the front row through the WWF and early WWE days. And, this was right after WrestleMania 2.
Yeah.
Well, I guess between WrestleMania 2 and WrestleMania 3. I guess it was around October. I guess the Mets were playing the Red Sox in the World Series. If I remember the beginning of that Piper's Pit correctly, Roddy Piper and Bobby Heenan placed a bet on who would win the World Series, the Red Sox or the Mets. So Vladimir picks Hulk Hogan. At this point, Piper and Hogan still hate each other.
Huge pop.
Yeah.
Crowd went wild on that.
It's leading to them being tag teams after, WrestleMania 1 and they just continued feuding, forever. What do you think of the Piper's Pit, the live crowd at MSG?
You know what? It's crazy how different not only just how everything was back then compared to how it is now. Like that crowd at Madison Square Garden and those older videos, they're packed in there. Now everybody's spaced out a lot more, and it's not the same vibe that you would have gotten, if they would have did this, last year or the year before or whatever. The crowd was electric. I love Piper. Nobody works as good as Piper on that mic, man. And same thing with you got Bobby the Brain Heenan out there. Heenan's so amazing. Just not just for his time, but all over. Like, he was just one of the best, man. But it was great. I love, the whole Piper. Come on, he's getting all riled up and shit, and then you get the little Vladimir picking out Hulk Hogan. The crowd erupts. Orndorff and what's it called? Bobby the Brain just losing their shit. It was so good, and like it was a good build up, man.
It was so fun. I remember watching that live as a kid, because if you had MSG Network, they always broadcasted the house shows from MSG. So that was like my special every month as a kid. You couldn't wait to see the new MSG show.
The network before the network.
That's true. The network before the network. That's a good point. One of my favorite things about watching the house shows is that every card you would get to see Howard Finkel announce next month's card. Yeah. And he would just do 5 minutes of talk, and then I always couldn't wait to see what next month's card was going to be, but mostly because Howard Finkel was announcing it, and he was just so good. I never understood why they felt the need to replace him, but then again, they felt the need to replace Jim Ross too. Yeah. So Vince is always worried about stuff. I always said, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And I think that's real. Vince's biggest problem till this day. He tries to, have things that work, and he wants to make them better, and he winds up making them a lot worse.
Yeah, and it's crazy because Fink was he's the voice. Before Jim Ross was the voice, Howard Finkel was the voice, man. And that's true. I love the old school Madison Square Garden, announcer setup, and that thing's great. I miss Fink, man.
If you also notice, the entrance ramp was totally different than what we're used to today, because the entrance ramp, and it was on the hard cam side.
Yeah, it's wild, but it was super short, man. Like when Hogan makes his entrance during the match, he was out there in like 2 minutes, not even. It was like boom, boom. I was like, what the hell happened?
That's so true, so true. So like, what I love about this match, and it's one of the things I've loved like since I first watched this match, you had two guys who legitimately hate each other, tag teaming, and they did it in a way that's never been duplicated.
Yeah,
like, when they go to make the tags, they just stare at each other.
Oh, I loved it. Intensity. My favorite part of the whole thing was Hogan and Piper ripping their shirts off right at the beginning, and then whipping them at each other. You know, like, you ready to do this? You ready to do this? And they look like they were about to fight. And then Harley Race comes running in and powering off. And then Hogan picks him up from behind. And, you know, Piper starts kicking them both. Yeah, it's so good. It was fun watch, man. It was very interesting. I love how intense the crowd was anytime Piper and Hogan were doing something, though. Like, anytime the tag would hit and the crowd would erupt. And it was like watching, like I said, the crowd atmosphere is so different back then than it is now. And they were just, it was like watching the Beatles, you know, like they erupted, man. And it was so cool.
I mean, getting to go to MSG as a kid and to live in that crowd, and I still remember it. Like,
it's got to be crazy, man.
it was crazy. It was so much fun. Luckily, my dad took me to some shows, and, you know, living in Staten Island, MSG was only a stone's throw away. So I was blessed just to live that close to it. And
absolutely,
that's the mecca for WWF back in the day. You know,
crazy.
But I love the stare downs. I love that they brought the intensity, and as I mentioned to you before we actually started recording, you had 3/4 of the main event of WrestleMania 1 in this match.
Yeah.
Piper is actually on the team of Hogan. Paul Orndorff was a face after WrestleMania 1, is back to being a heel after getting hit in the head again. Orndorff had this thing. I don't know if you realize it or not. Every time he got hit in the head, he would turn heel or face, depending on which one he was.
Yeah.
Because he got hit at WrestleMania 1 with Bob Orton's cast, and then he turned face. And then it was on Superstars, I believe. He was in a tag team match with Hogan, and he got hit off the apron. He fell to the bottom, hit his head. He came back in the ring and turned on Hogan. So now he's heel again. So
yeah, it's crazy, man. It's good gimmicking. I mean, you gotta love and respect that, man. It was a solid match. It's hard to watch those old matches because that ring looks so stiff when they're hitting the mat, man. It's like watching them take bumps on concrete. Like, it is brutal, so brutal, man.
No
but
give.
No give at all. But it was cool. I could watch anything with Piper, Weasel, and, you know, Hogan. Harley Race, such a gem to see Harley Race, man. I love Harley's career, and like, I didn't see a lot of his WWF stuff. You know, I watched a lot of clips about it, but it's cool to see him working matches, and they worked the shit out of his arm there in that match, man.
And like you said, the whole intensity that they brought. I loved the tags. I loved how they stared at each other. I loved that they never forgot that they were.
Damn, you know, Hogan just lifting the arm up, you know, when he's on the apron,
and like little things like that made the crowd go crazy that people don't do today.
Yeah, well, it's a different time too. You know, you gotta look at that too. There was pre, you know, reality era, so those fans were really bought into what they were watching. It wasn't, you know, we're hooked on this storyline. They're like, shit's really going down with Hogan and Piper, and, you know, everything was more believable back then than it is these days, because it was true then, you know. So, but it was really intense, man. I really liked it. I liked how Piper and Hogan kept working their corner really well. I know there was the beatdown on Piper once they got Piper over to the corner. Harley Race gave a hell of a suplex to Piper at one point. And that's where I was like, man, that ring looks so rough. But it's cool. I love the loose ropes. You know, I like that. It's really stiff clotheslining going on. It was a fun watch, man.
And then at the end of the match, you think you might get Hogan and Piper celebrating, but Piper stays true to character. Tell them what Piper did.
Oh, so Piper does the quick pin, gets the 1, 2, 3, and then runs. It gets right out of the ring. Doesn't even want to sit there for a minute and embellishing, you know, the glory, the victory of glory. You know, he was done. And then Orndorff and what's his name? Harley Race just started beating down Hogan a little bit, and Bobby the Brain gets in the ring and he's yelling at him. Then Hogan does the infamous pulls both their arms so they knock each other in the head, and then he looks at the Brain, brother, and he starts chasing down Bobby, hits him a few times, and then whips him into the turnbuckle. It was great. Such good stuff. And then Hogan celebrates on his way out, doing, you know, his usual Hogan shtick.
As Piper's leaving, he even gives Hogan the old
the old school, you know,
the old school, and just walks out. He's not there to celebrate that I just won a match with the guy that I hate, like they would do nowadays.
Yeah.
And I
No,
love
but
that little thing just meant so much. Like, I love that.
absolutely. It was like that was the early version of Austin flipping the bird and getting out of town.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out, boom. So
Yeah.
it was cool. Piper is and always will be one of the greatest heels of all time, man. He did such a good
Yeah.
job. Yeah.
He was the best, and that's why everybody else. I think the closest we've have to Piper is MJF now.
Yeah.
On the mic, he's in the ring. He kind of works like Piper because he doesn't work all the time. Piper didn't work all the time, but he
Yeah.
works enough.
No,
I
absolutely.
think MJF beats Piper in the ring a little bit. Piper was never the best wrestler, but he could put on a show. He could take a beating. He could sell. Like,
Yeah.
I know the lips. He's always did the lips thing, and he could do the face plant so well.
Yeah.
was
He took
so
a
good.
hell of a Harley picks him up at one point in the match. He does a one-armed body slam to him. Harley's arms like underneath Piper's chest, and he just drops him. And like you could see, they had good emotions, man. They really did sell for being as big as they were.
Yeah.
Not just character-wise, but human-wise. They were big. All four of them were huge men. And it's crazy to see. But Hogan was all over the place. Some of those tags looked like he was reaching in underneath the second and middle rope. Like, Hogan was crazy, but it was a beautiful watch, man. It was fun, very, very fun, very entertaining. And something that stands true to those older matches, because some of them don't live up to expectations these days. But that one was really fun to watch, man.
Yeah, because I know when we went back and I watched Tito Santana and Greg Valentine, wasn't quite the same as I remembered it watching it when I was 13 or 14 or however old I was back when that match happened. So it's what's fun about this series is going back and seeing some of the stuff that you remember being the best and like thinking that was so great, and you go back and you watch it and you're like, oh, okay. But I went back and watched this after I sent it to you. I watched the pit, I watched the match, and I remember that was as good as I remembered it. That was just as fun.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's crazy.
How many people work a crowd like Orndorff? And he was able to do it, whether he was a heel or a face, he knew how to get the crowd to boo him.
Yeah.
And he was such a good face as well when he wanted the fans to cheer him.
No, absolutely. It's a shame that Hogan's the only one alive out of the whole group that was in that ring, including the referee, Howard Finkel, Bobby the Brain Heenan. Like, you got to think, like, that's insane. And it's just that was something that kept sticking in my head. Like, man, I can't believe that Hogan is the last man standing out of this group, man. It's insane.
That is crazy.
Yeah,
that really is crazy when you stop and you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's wild. But man, I love Bobby the Brain Heenan. I love him whispering in Orndorff's ear during the match and stuff like that. And like, he wasn't as involved in this match that he is normally. But it was good, and I liked it. He took a hell of a turnbuckle to the shoulder.
Turnbuckle
Hogan with him, right?
Heenan was so good at that too. Heenan, his expressions. I remember he gets mad and he slaps someone, and he realized that.
I love when he hit his shoulder on the post. He didn't really sell it. He just flipped over and then fell to the outside. And he was like, "I'm out. I'm not doing this shit anymore."
And he probably realized, you got these four guys in there, I don't need to do much.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Very, very, very true. But yeah, I mean, he added a little extra spice to everything. It was really cool, man.
So let's flip it over now and go to the match you had me watch. First time I've ever seen it. Maybe, I'm not sure about this, but it might be the first ECW match I've watched in its entirety.
Insane.
Yeah, and I don't know if I wasn't watching it for this show, if I would have watched the whole thing. But it was very interesting. Like, the first thing that I popped for was seeing Cactus Jack coming out wearing a Dungeon of Doom t-shirt on ECW.
Well, listen, we had Cactus Jack and Raven versus Terry Funk and Tommy Dreamer from November 2nd, or November to Remember, from 1995. So if you guys want to watch it and check it out, go
26 years ago.
Wild, right?
I remember thinking 26 years ago, man, Terry Funk looks old. And I go back and I watch it now and think, boy, Terry Funk looks young. And it's the same time period.
Yeah, no, it's insane. So walk me through. What did you think? What were your what was your hits and misses, my friend?
First of all, I'll pop I mean, they didn't call it a Texas Tornado match, but I love tag team matches when all four guys, especially old school tag team matches, when all four guys are in the ring at the same time. They
Yeah.
always used to have a more of a special feel that when it happens today. I don't know why that happened. So I love that aspect of it.
Yeah,
Um,
ECW was cool like that because I think most of their matches were Texas Tornado matches. You know, it wasn't there
uh,
wasn't really a big rule scheme on things. Like sometimes it would be a regular tag match, sometimes it would just be a brawl,
yeah.
and this definitely led towards more of the brawling aspect.
Yes.
This was, of course, before Mick Foley went to WWF at the time, you
Yeah.
know, and became
Yeah.
Mankind. Uh, I want to say this is right after his WCW run, which was almost what I was going to send you was a Mick Foley versus Vader match, Cactus Jack versus Vader. But I couldn't find a good enough version to find for you because there's WCW had a no blood rule, and Foley liked to bleed. So when Foley would bleed, they would edit half the match. So
Really? They
it
had a
was,
no
yeah,
blood rule ever in WCW? Did they ever
not
used
ever.
to?
It was in the early '90s.
Okay.
They had no blood rule because you know
Okay.
I think they were on Disney, MGM, all that shit. So it was good though,
Oh,
man.
okay.
Yeah, you're talking
Interesting.
4 hardcore legends in the ring at once. You got so the big deal is Raven and Tommy Dreamer because I don't know if you know the whole backstory here,
No,
but
that's why fill me in, because
yeah,
that
so
makes this
Raven and Tommy
whole match
Dreamer,
make more sense.
Raven and Tommy Dreamer was the feud in ECW. Like,
Okay.
and Dreamer was the baby, young little baby face,
He
never
looks
could
so
get
young.
over. He looks so young. But yeah, so this was one of their steps into the glory, even going to the final kind of months of ECW. Tommy Dreamer was never winning until like very end. He finally won. You know, like it was one of those things. He was always over with the crowd, but he was just always getting his ass kicked. But it's cool, man. So Raven and Tommy Dreamer had a heated rivalry, still lives to this day occasionally. Like you know, when I was working the indies, we had a show where they were doing a tag match and Raven and Dreamer turned on each other. And it's
Oh
just
wow.
and that was 10 years ago, you know, so it's just still builds up like that. It's insane, man. But yeah, let me know more. What did you think?
Um, well, one of the things I found most amazing was Terry Funk throwing the chair, and I think he hit Raven square in the head with it from the outside of the ring. Like,
Yeah.
how the hell did he aim that so perfect? Like, holy
Terry's an
smoke!
old sucking dog, but he can definitely work, man. Those chair shots were brutal, and Funk always brought it, man. And
Yeah,
I've seen him hit a few chair shots like that where you're like, holy shit, like this old man's fucking
I was
nuts.
impressed by that. I think I figured out he was 51 at the time of that match.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, because he's
And you're talking
76
'95.
now.
You remember? So when was ECW Extreme Rules, or not, or One Night Stand? The second one where RVD beat Cena, Terry
Yeah.
Funk and Foley wrestled in that, man, in a hardcore match with that. And Terry Funk must have
Wow.
been like 67 or something. It's insane.
Well, yeah, I'd be a little younger than that if he's
Maybe, whatever.
75, 76 now.
Yeah,
That pay per view had to be at least 10 years ago now, right? I don't even remember.
easily. Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
2006. So they were talking. How old
Wow.
was
So
he
that
here?
was
So
even 15 years ago.
yeah.
Wow. Where does the time go with these things?
Exactly. Yeah, but no, this is like ECW brings these type of matches, and this wasn't possibly the best first showing for me to share with you, but I know that you will respect all 4 of these guys by the end of this history homage that we're
Yeah. I mean,
doing.
another thing I noticed is the lack of production quality of
Oh
the
yeah,
match.
no.
Um,
ECW was like
bare
uh
minimum.
not so much bare minimum. ECW is like I'm trying to find the correct wording for this, but it was like the punk rock of pro wrestling. Like they didn't do anything with glitz and glamour, but the in-ring action is what brought everybody there, you know, and there was some good stuff.
So where did this match take place along the lines of ECW? Beginning, middle, or end?
I'd say this is a good middle spot. I mean,
Middle
ECW
spot.
closed up in 2001.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Good.
yeah, they started, I don't want to say early 90s, so it's like right in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed Joey Styles. I always loved listening to him on
Yeah.
the mic. He
Joey's a
was
blast.
so good.
Yeah.
Stevie Richards getting involved, bringing out a shopping
Yes.
cart. I love
Oh,
the
no,
spot
yeah.
of him in the cart being pushed into the ring post.
Yeah.
I thought
See,
that was fun.
they were outlaws, man. They got to do whatever they wanted. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah. The cheese grater spot on Raven was
Oh,
terrible.
yeah.
Oh, that was gross. And it
Oh,
was,
just,
you could tell it wasn't even like fake.
yeah.
It was like he instantly was bleeding from it.
Yeah, there was no fake in ECW.
Yeah.
But those cheese grater spots, like this is the before you had CZW, before you had GCW. This is like the invention of it, you know. So you're kind of seeing these guys crafting their own spots, crafting their own version of pro wrestling, and there couldn't be 4 better people to pick for you to watch it happen with.
And the Cactus Jack, was he cutting people with a piece of glass?
I think so.
Did you go back and watch the match?
I haven't watched this match in a while. I did not get a chance to go back and watch it, but I'm pretty sure he was using piece of glass. This is one of my favorite Foley matches. So
really, because I wondered if you watched it now where it would fall in that line of how you remember to compare to how it is.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen it a couple times since the first time I've seen it, and it's not like I said, it wasn't the greatest introduction to an ECW show for you, but this is like the mixed bag, you know, like if you were to draw a name out of a hat, this would be like the incorporation of an ECW match for you. So you're like, you kind of sets you up for what it is.
That wasn't the best story, but the violence was there.
Yeah. Well, the story was involved for sure, but that's the hard thing with these history homages is like we don't not necessarily get the big lead up, but you'll put puzzle pieces together as we continue going with it, and you'd be like, oh, okay, like that's why he was doing that, or this is why they were put together with each other. So,
okay, my favorite spot was the chain.
Yes,
Tommy when it was who held the chain? It was Mick Foley and Raven holding the chain, and Tommy Dreamer dives on it to bring them both together.
It's great, right?
That was beautiful. I for that.
There's fun little things like that they always do, and I want to show you more. I was going to give you there's Sabu versus Terry Funk and Born to be Barbed Wire. Ooh. And this one's a gruesome match, very hard to watch if you're squeamish, you know. But there's some beautiful like history of wrestling, hardcore wrestling there. But there's also so many other characters in ECW that I got to introduce you to. Well, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I was always sad. Like, I always loved Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, wherever he was. Like, he was one guy I always kept an eye on. I always wanted to see Sabu get a big time push somewhere in a big promotion.
Yeah.
You know,
he was close.
Another guy I always liked. He was in WWE for a while after One Night Stand, right?
But
he was the push he deserved.
No, but he was in the Rumble at least.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, he did have a couple great matches.
Was he at WrestleMania? Wasn't he in the ECW old school versus new school?
Yep.
Kind of sounds familiar. Sounds like what NXT is doing right now. Recycled storylines.
But no, it's Sabu's fantastic. He's a great worker. I gotta give you a good Sabu match.
Let's talk about Cactus Jack takes his shirt off, and underneath his Dungeon of Doom shirt is an Eric Bischoff shirt that says "Please forgive me, Uncle Eric." What's that all about?
Okay, so Cactus Jack used to work in WCW. He was fired. So when he was gone, he was sitting there waiting. He just had I want to say it was his second kid. So Dewey was a little baby. Yes, maybe before Noel. I think it was right after Dewey was born, or maybe like a year or two after.
Okay.
But Foley was sitting on the sidelines. It had nothing to do. So Paul Heyman, good old Paul Lee, dangerously, gave Mick a call and said, "Hey man, if you want to come work over here," much like he did with a young Steve Austin and a few other prime talents. But Foley's whole gimmick there was, "Oh, thank you, Eric. I love you, Eric, for making me come here and be extreme." And you would get these awesome promos, and there's some really, really good ones. But so he was on his way out, and he was. This is towards right before Foley went into the WWE, WWF at the time, and he was just teasing. His whole gimmick was always like shitting on Eric Bischoff, but I love you, Eric. You can't do to me, Eric. You know, it's like so it
See,
was
I'm
cool,
here for
man.
that all day. I love that. The guy in
Yeah,
promotion is doing it.
so what I really want to get to eventually is showing you some of these awesome clips like that. Like there's what's it called? Cactus Jack and the Sandman had a great feud, and somebody in the crowd had a Kane Dewey sign. Foley does this awesome dark promo, and it's based off the action figure that Ringside just came out with, that ECW Mick Foley or
okay.
Cactus Jack.
Cactus Jack, yeah.
And he cuts a promo, and he's I really like to think that you some son of a bitch in the back runs on sign like that's only 2 years old. You know, like that kind of shit. He's ripping his hair out, and he's bringing so intensity. This is how I fell in love with the whole Cactus Jack Mick Foley character. So when it come time when he's walking down the aisle, and WWF with the violins playing in the background, and he's he's Mankind, I love of Mankind. It all brings this beautiful development. And then you finally see later on when he wins, the WWF title, and like it was a really, really awesome full told career. It's one of those things that makes you really fall in love with wrestling. So the whole deal with the Eric Bischoff shtick was that Bischoff fired him, and this was his way to let out his frustrations against.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
I love to hear that type of stuff.
Yeah.
That's really, really funny. I love, like I said, I was always the WWF guy, WWE guy. Didn't wander much. Read the magazine still, followed stuff on the internet, and I couldn't wait for Cactus Jack to get to WWF. And then he came in as Mankind. I was disappointed, but I loved Mankind after getting to know him. You talk about what a run he had. He starts off as Mankind, then he turns into the Three Faces of Foley. He has that awesome segment with JR.
Oh, I
one
love
of the
it.
best backstage vignettes or segments I've ever seen. That interview so beautifully set him up for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
How the whole Three Faces of Foley, that eventually the guy is just now known as Mick Foley. And you talk about his characters after, like there's not many other wrestlers if any, that's happened with. That they shed their characters to become their real person, and they're just as loved.
Listen, one of the only people in the world that come into one Royal Rumble is 3 different characters, and that's awesome stuff. He was so good at what he was doing, though. Like even when he came in as Mankind, and it was a weird thing, but I loved those promos where he was sitting there holding the rat in his hand. He's just ripping his hair out, and he was always so intense. But my favorite line is when Foley's interviewing, or it's Mankind interviewing Dude Love. He goes, I think I know what you're doing. Oh, I think you know what you're thinking. And, and then he goes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Jack, baby. And then Cactus Jack comes out, and Foley was just an unbelievable talented person.
That was for the Rumble at MSG, wasn't it?
I think it was prior to the Rumble, because I think the Rumble is when all 3 of them came out. But I think
but that wasn't that him versus Triple H, and Triple H didn't know it was going to be Cactus Jack.
No. That was, you're talking later, right? Like 99-ish.
I think that's the first time we saw Cactus Jack in WWE.
Maybe. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I think that was I think it was DX was in the ring or something.
Yeah, and I thought he was fighting Triple H, and we didn't realize it in a street fight, and we didn't know it was going to be Cactus Jack. And that's when that video clip is from.
See, that happened twice, too, because it happened later on. And I was at the SmackDown when Foley came out, and he was all bloodied up, and he was wearing the white button-up still with the tie, and he takes his mask off, and he throws it on the ground, and then he starts unbuttoning this, and he's got the Cactus Jack shirt on underneath, and Triple H is losing his shit in the ring. That was so cool. But I think the line that he goes is like, I think I am thinking what you think I think you're thinking.
Yeah,
I
love that.
Jack, baby.
Foley, and you talk about Mick Foley and what a mind he has for the business. And I sent this to our text group last night. I wonder if his deal is done with WWE, if he's out of his Legends contract, because he shows up at NWA last night. And I'm pretty sure I'm not going out on a limb and saying this, but I think we're going to see a Mick Foley versus Matt Cardona cinematic match sometime in the future.
That would be fantastic.
Because they both show up at the NWA Hard Times on Saturday night, and I guess Mick's been making some comments towards Matt, and you
Yeah.
talk about two great minds, because I think Matt Cardona is very underrated for what he's done in his
I think,
whole career. Like first of all, he got himself over in WWE when he wasn't even on TV, when the
yeah,
internet wasn't even a big thing. He was the first one to do it.
yeah,
Now, would the internet have become big for wrestlers eventually, even if he didn't do it? Of course. Like,
yeah,
it would have. Let's not be fools. It's what the internet is today. But he was the first to do it before anybody else did it. But now, at a time when he's an indie wrestler, he's doing things and making names for himself that he's got the whole wrestling world talking about, that a lot of indie wrestlers don't usually do.
yeah,
He's fighting hardcore matches. He's popping up in Impact. He's now in NWA. I'm not going to be shocked if we see him show up at the last Ring of Honor pay-per-view. I'm
yeah.
calling it now. I think he shows up there.
It would be cool.
Calling
The
it.
whole thing that's crazy is he is so over everywhere. Like, he's just doing everything he possibly can, getting his hands in every hot commodity right now.
Yes.
And now it's to a point where he's drawing attention to the NWA and not vice versa. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes,
and
exactly.
that's crazy. Like, when he first got fired, I'm sure a lot of people were thinking, like, what is he going to do with his career?
Yeah.
What's next for Cardona? And like, you see him pop up on AEW for a little bit, a short cup of coffee, and then he's an Impact. And no offense to Impact, but they're the lower on the hanging fruit on the branch, right? But he leaves. He's still in Impact, but he goes to GCW, shows up, gets rocket heat. That was unbelievably good. And then he beats Nick Gage, turns the whole place upside down for the better, brings some really good notoriety to it. I had a great time because Nick Gage was just getting all this fame from Dark Side of the Ring, and then that translates over to Mox coming in trying to mess around with Cardona, and we're seeing Cardona doing more than he probably ever would have been able to do under the WWE umbrella.
Yeah.
So that's very cool, man.
Well, let's point out, Cardona's gone on a record of saying he went to Vince before he was fired, before AEW was even started. He said, "Fire me. We'll make it a story. Let me go work the indies and then come back here."
Yeah,
So here's what I'm thinking now. He had his cup of coffee with AEW, and like everybody wondered why he didn't go back. He probably told Tony Khan, because we know he broke the record for shirts sold in one night when his shirt went on sale there. I
yeah.
think he said to Tony Khan, "Let me go work. Let me go work around everywhere. Let me go make my name and see what I could do. And then when I come back, when I'm finished with all that, I'll come back here a much bigger name than I am now."
It's possible, man. It would be
And
cool.
I would not be shocked if that's what we're seeing and that's how it ends up. Now, think about this too. Like, this is something that just hit to me as we were talking about Cody Rhodes. Is Cardona and Rhodes are doing the same type of thing. They're not changing their stick, but they're both getting booed crazily.
Yeah.
What if it comes together in the end that they're together in AEW, still doing their shtick as good guys, but getting booed like freaking crazy?
Yeah, it would be cool. I think Cardona's really right now. I think this is his best run. I don't think
Oh
we're
my
going to get
gosh.
better out of this.
I think that he's probably making more money on this run he's doing now by going to all the indies than he would with any promotion.
Oh, of course, but like seeing him playing the oblivious heel is one of the greatest things you can do in wrestling, because he's like, you guys don't hate me, you're just fucking dumb. And like, he does that kind of shtick more than he's doing like, oh, come on, it's me. Like, I want to
Yeah,
hang out. Like,
exactly.
and
But
but like,
Cody's doing the same exact thing. And
yeah,
you want to say he's not a heel, but he's doing things as he does it to instigate the crowd to make him hate him more, by
it's like
bringing out
polar
the shovel
opposites
and
because he's
then like
being,
kissing Brandy to go off the air, knowing people are going to hate it.
yeah,
Like, he's just fueling the fire and saying, "I'm not a heel." On At the same time, that's just making him hated even more. He's
yeah,
doing it, and people don't even realize it. Like, they're waiting for the turn. There's not going to be a turn that's going to happen. It's just going to be more of this,
yeah. I
more of
think
this
the whole
type of stuff.
thing. with Cody is that he was trying to be, I'm the face of this company. It's me. I'm here. And like, but I think once he realized the crowd was turning on him, that he's starting to, he's embellishing on it now, and he's making it more and more. He's diving into it subtly, and he's making it like by this time next year, we're going to have a completely different Cody Rhodes than we're thinking about now.
Yeah, but there's not going to be one move that's going to say he's a heel. It's not going to be one big thing.
Yeah, it might be.
No, it's not. It's not.
He's doing heel Bullet Club Cody.
He's doing this before our eyes without people even realize that he's doing it.
I will agree with that.
And it's being done beautifully. And I love how the talk of the history homage brought us to this point. Like it's so much fun, and it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. We're gonna do this again very soon, because these episodes, looking back and seeing stuff I've never seen, and like I said, between seeing stuff I've never seen and going back and watching stuff I haven't seen in years, and seeing if it's what I remember,
it's a blast.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, I promise next ECW content I give you will be a work rate 5-star match, and you'll be like, "What the fuck? This is completely different than what you showed me."
That was just a bloodfest. It just
it was
all over the place.
Season's beatings. You know, it's his. I want you to feel. You got to watch the Grim and then see where it gets from there. Like, wait till I introduce you to Dudley Boys. Wait till you hear the promos that they cut. You're gonna be like, how the hell did they get away with this, and how are they not dead? Because like there's so much in there. Yeah, Bubba Ray Dudley, top heel. Like this is where
I remember just Dudley Boys that get to tables. Everybody loves them. What are you talking about?
No. He used to come out and he would look at the guy in the front row and be like, "You fat fuck!" And like he was one of the best crowd heaters. Like he would go out there, pick on everybody. Come on, you want to get in the ring with the Dudleys? He would be like, "Fuck you," and throwing up. Like it was.
We didn't even mention. I meant to mention that match that we even had a Taz appearance.
Yes. Baby Taz. Wait, I gotta show you some Taz matches, man.
Taz was thick as fuck too.
Oh my god! Wait, there's a match with him and Bam Bam Bigelow, man. Oh, there's some great gems on there. Taz and Sabu had one of the best rivalries I've ever seen play out. They only had a few years with it, but it was like I still clamor to it this day, where I'm like, damn, like I wish Taz could still go once in a while, because he was so damn good just in the ring, man. It's insane. Yeah, Taz is thick boy.
He was thick, man.
His legs looked like tree trunks. Like there was massive.
he reminds me of Johnny Hungy. He's as thick as he is wide.
Little bulldog. But he beats some ass, man.
He was a beast. He was a beast. So, guys, you could go to our Pro Wrestling Tee shop, pick up a Turnbuckle Session shirt. You could pick up an OG Fig Kid shirt. You could pick up a Debate shirt. You could pick up so many Turnbuckle Tavern shirts. You could get the Mike Belcaster. I'm a Mike Belcaster guy shirt. I have it. You should get it. It's Christmas time, Get yourself a little present. Support the Tavern. Make sure you're following us everywhere you can. I just got my free stickers in the mail for leaving a 5-star review. You could get some stickers if you leave us a review and you send us a screenshot. If you go on Apple Podcasts and you leave us a review there. Just subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook. Anywhere you can follow us, we're probably there. TikTok. We're on TikTok. Make sure you follow us. That Karrion Kross, or Killer Kross, or whatever he'll be. I'm sure he'll be back to Killer Kross very, very soon. But it was fun. Make sure you're following us. Enter our contest by following us and sending us a screenshot. And until next time, Mike, you have anything else to plug? Nice. Love, peace, and pro wrestling.